Have you ever made a promise as a child that followed you into adulthood like a shadow? A promise you laughed about when you were young, but later realized was listening the whole time. I want you to think carefully as you listen to this story, because before it ends, you may ask yourself if loyalty is still worth keeping when success is on the line. This is a promise made in youth, and it begins the way many African stories begin, with innocence, hunger, and a vow that should never have been spoken lightly. In the village of Umnyuez, where red dust clung to bare feet and the air always smelled of wood smoke and rain-soaked earth, two boys grew up like twins born of different mothers. Obinna and Sadiq were barely 12 when the world first taught them what lack meant. Empty pots, torn sandals, mothers who smiled through exhaustion, fathers who spoke less each year. In Umnyuez, poverty was not a stranger. It was a neighbor that never moved away. They did everything together. They fetched water from the stream at dawn, trapped grass cutters at dusk, and lay on their backs at night counting stars, arguing about which one would carry their names someday. Obinna dreamed quietly. He wanted a life with dignity, a job that didn't require lying or bowing too low. Sadiq dreamed loudly. He wanted money, influence, and a voice that people would not ignore. Yet in those early years, their dreams did not divide them. They stitched them together. The elders often warned the children about the old iroko tree at the edge of the village. It was said to be older than memory, a meeting place for spirits and ancestors. No child was meant to play there after sunset. But warnings sound like challenges to boys who believe the world is still soft. One evening, during the New Yam festival, drums thundered and fires danced across the village square. Adults drank and laughed. That was when Obinna and Sadiq slipped away. They stood beneath the iroko tree, its roots twisting like giant fingers gripping the earth. The air felt heavier there, quieter. Sadiq spoke first. "When we leave this village," he said, voice trembling with excitement, "we leave together. No matter what happens, we don't betray each other. If one of us becomes something, the other must not be forgotten." Obinna hesitated. His chest felt tight, though he didn't know why. Still, he nodded. They pricked their thumbs with a shard of broken bottle and pressed them together. Blood mixed. A childish act, they thought. A powerful one they didn't understand. From the darkness, an old voice cut through the night. "The land hears what you say." They turned sharply. An elderly woman stood a short distance away, eyes sharp, back bent by years. "Promises made in youth," she continued, "do not stay young. They grow." The boys ran, laughing, hearts pounding. By morning, they had already begun to forget her words. But the iroko tree did not forget, and neither did the promise. The city did not welcome Obinna and Sadiq with open arms. It never did for boys like them. When they arrived in Lagos years later, carrying one small bag each in the confidence of youth, the city watched them the way a predator watches unfamiliar prey, silent, patient, ready to test their strength. Lagos was loud, restless, unforgiving. Danfo horns screamed at dawn, generators roared through the night, and the smell of sweat, fuel, and ambition clung to everything. The village felt like a dream Obinna could barely touch anymore. Yet some nights, when the city went quiet for a few seconds before another wave of noise crashed in, he remembered the iroko tree and the blood on his thumb. They rented a single room in a jeginal, thin walls, leaking roof, shared toilet. But they were together, and that felt like victory. They worked anywhere that paid: construction sites, roadside loading jobs, delivery errands. Hunger still visited them, but hope now sat beside it. Sadiq changed first. The city fed his hunger for more. He learned how to talk fast, smile faster, and hide impatience behind charm. He met men who wore clean shoes but had dirty hands, men who spoke of connections and opportunities. Sadiq listened closely. He started staying out late, coming home with stories that sounded bigger each time. Obinna noticed but said nothing. He believed loyalty meant patience. One afternoon, an opportunity came knocking. A small logistics company needed a supervisor, someone young, sharp, trustworthy. Only one position. The manager asked for recommendations. Sadiq volunteered to speak for both of them. That night, Obinna waited in the room, shirt neatly pressed, heart steady. He rehearsed answers in his head. He imagined calling his mother, telling her life was changing. The call never came. Sadiq returned late, avoiding Obina's eyes. He said the company had postponed the decision. Days passed. Then weeks. Obina eventually heard the truth from someone else. Sadiq had been hired, alone. When confronted, Sadiq laughed it off. I needed to secure it first, he said. Once I'm inside, I'll pull you in. You know how things work? Obina nodded slowly, though something cracked inside him. It wasn't the job. It was the ease with which the truth had been bent. From that moment, the city began to stretch the promise they made as boys. Sadiq climbed. Better clothes. Better friends. Obina remained where he was, still grinding, still waiting. At night, Sadiq slept easily. Obina didn't. He dreamed of roots wrapping around his ankles, pulling him backward no matter how hard he walked forward. He dreamed of an old woman calling his name in a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. The city had taught them their first lesson. Success rarely asks permission from loyalty, and promises made in youth are often tested in silence. Obina met Amara on a crowded bus that smelled of heat and impatience. She was standing, holding the rail with quiet strength, her eyes calm in a way that felt rare in the city. When the bus jerked forward and she almost lost balance, Obina steadied her without thinking. She smiled, thanked him, and just like that, something gentle entered his life. Amara was different. She worked at a small printing shop and spoke with purpose. She believed in slow growth, honest effort, and peace of mind. When Obina talked about his struggles, she listened without judgment. When he spoke of the future, she didn't laugh. She believed him. For the first time since leaving the village, Obina felt seen. Sadiq noticed the change immediately. Obina smiled more. He stayed out later. He talked about building something real. It irritated Sadiq in ways he didn't understand. He had money now, respect, movement, but not peace. And watching Obina find something genuine stirred an old jealousy he thought the city had buried. Sadiq met Amara, by coincidence. He was charming, generous, confident. He spoke of opportunities, of growth, of how the city rewards boldness. Slowly, carefully, he planted doubt. Not lies, just enough truth bent sideways. Obina is a good man, Sadiq would say softly. But goodness doesn't always survive Lagos. When Amara's mother fell ill back in the village and hospital bills began piling up, Obina struggled. He borrowed. He waited. He promised. Sadiq stepped in quietly, sending money without Obina's knowledge. To Amara, it looked like care. To Sadiq, it felt like control. The day Amara left, Obina didn't shout. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall as if it had answers. Her words echoed in his head. I need stability. I can't keep believing in promises. That night, rain soaked the streets. Sadiq dreamed. He stood under the iroko tree, now split down the middle. Blood seeped into the soil. The old woman appeared, her voice low and steady. You have taken what was not yours, she said. And what you've taken will ask for payment. Sadiq woke up sweating, heart racing. He dismissed it as stress. The city always demanded more sleep than it gave. Days later, Obina overheard a conversation that confirmed everything. The job, the money, Amara. The pieces finally aligned. He said nothing. Silence became his shield. He worked harder, spoke less, trusted no one. The promise made in youth weighed heavier now, not because it was broken, but because he was the only one still carrying it. And somewhere deep within Sadiq, beneath success and ambition, guilt began to grow roots. From the outside, Sadiq looked like a man who had won. He moved out of Vijayanal into a service department on the mainland. He wore clean shirts that smelled of expensive soap and spoke with the confidence Afsamian the city now listened to. People returned his calls quickly. Doors opened for him. Lagos had finally said yes. But success has a sound when it begins to rot. It is quiet. It whispers at night. Sadiq's business expanded faster than he expected. Contracts came through men who asked few questions and expected quick returns. He didn't ask where the money came from. He didn't want to know. In Lagos, curiosity can be expensive. Soon he had partners who smiled too easily and kept their eyes cold. He told himself this was the price of growth. Then the dream started again. He saw the iroko tree, taller than before, its roots breaking through concrete roads. He heard drums echoing beneath city noise. Sometimes he woke to the sound of his name spoken in the accent of his village, soft but firm, like a reminder. At the same time, Obina's life unraveled quietly. A shipment went missing at a warehouse where he worked. The blame fell on him. Evidence appeared too neatly, documents he had never seen, signatures that weren't his. He protested, but no one listened. He was arrested, processed, forgotten. In the city, innocence without influence is invisible. When word reached Sadiq, he froze. The names involved were familiar. Too familiar. He visited the village seeking answers he could no longer ignore. The old elder sat beneath the same iroko tree, his eyes cloudy but sharp. After listening, the man shook his head slowly. "You broke a promise sealed with blood," he said. "The ancestors did not chase you. They waited." Sadiq tried to offer money. The elder laughed. "There are debts money cannot touch." Back in Lagos, his child fell ill suddenly. Doctors found no clear cause. Bills rose. Sleep vanished. Partners began to disappear. Phones stopped ringing. The city that once welcomed him now looked through him. One night, unable to rest, Sadiq stood on his balcony staring at the lights below. He remembered two barefoot boys laughing under the stars. He remembered blood mixing. He realized then that success had not saved him from consequence, it had only delayed it. Meanwhile, Obina sat in a crowded cell, staring at his hands, the same hands that once held a promise. He received a message smuggled through another inmate. It was from Sadiq asking to meet. Obina folded the paper and closed his eyes. The promise had been broken. Now it was asking to be answered. The first time Sadiq walked into the prison yard, he didn't recognize Obina immediately. The man sitting on the concrete bench looked thinner, older, carved by disappointment and restraint. Only the eyes remained the same steady, observant, unbroken. Those eyes unsettled Sadiq more than anger ever could. They sat across from each other without greeting. Metal doors clanged in the distance. Somewhere, a radio played faintly, a song about home. "I didn't know it would go this far," Sadiq said finally. His voice sounded smaller than he remembered. Obina smiled faintly. "That's the thing about betrayal," he replied. "It never plans to go far. It just keeps walking." Sadiq lowered his head. Words tumbled out, half confessions, half excuses. He spoke of pressure, of survival, of the city forcing choices. He spoke of love, of fear, of how everything had spiraled beyond control. He expected rage. He expected blame. Obina listened quietly. "I know," Obina said when Sadiq finished. "I knew years ago." The words hit harder than any accusation. Sadiq looked up, stunned. "You knew?" "Yes, about the job. About the money. About Amara." Obina's voice remained calm, almost gentle. "I chose not to fight you. I chose silence." "Why?" Sadiq whispered. "Because I didn't want to become you," Obina replied. That was the moment Sadiq broke. He realized the punishment was never prison or sickness or lost wealth. It was this, knowing the man he betrayed had carried the truth without poisoning his own heart. The promise made in youth had not been destroyed. It had been honored by only one of them. Sadiq confessed everything that night to the authorities, to his partners, to anyone who would listen. He gave names. He handed over documents. He watched his life collapse piece by piece, strangely relieved with every loss. When news reached the prison that Obina would be released, he didn't celebrate. He simply stood under the open sky for a long time, breathing freedom like it was fragile. Amara visited him days later. She didn't come to apologize or to return. She came to tell the truth, that she now knew everything, that she admired his strength, and that some lessons arrived too late to fix love, but early enough to save dignity. As Sadiq was led away to serve his sentence, he asked for one thing: to see the iroko tree again someday. The elder's words echoed through his mind. The land does not forget. The promise had been fulfilled, but not the way either boy imagined. Years passed the way they always do, quietly, without asking who was ready. The city kept moving, swallowing stories, forgetting names, but some truths refused to disappear. Obinna returned to Umeziez, not as a defeated man, but as someone who had survived without losing himself. He built a small learning center near the village square, teaching children basic skills, patience, and something far more important, character. He never spoke publicly about prison. He never mentioned betrayal. Yet every lesson carried weight. Every word was measured. Sometimes in the evenings he sat beneath the iroko tree. Its trunk was scarred now, struck by lightning years earlier, yet still standing. The elder said the tree had accepted payment. Sadik served his time quietly. Prison stripped him of pride, status, and illusion. What remained was memory. In the silence of long nights he replayed every choice, every lie he told himself in the name of progress. He realized then that ambition without loyalty is just hunger wearing fine clothes. When he was released, he didn't return to the city. He went straight to the village. The day he arrived, rain fell softly, the kind that cleans rather than floods. He walked slowly toward the iroko tree and found Obinna already there, sweeping fallen leaves. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I don't expect forgiveness," Sadiq said at last. "I only wanted to come back whole." Obinna leaned on the broom. "Forgiveness is not a gift you demand," he said. "It's a door you wait beside." They stood together in silence, two men bound by a promise that had shaped them in opposite ways. The old woman appeared from the path, older now, but her eyes just as sharp. "The land has watched you both," she said. "One of you broke the promise. The other carried it alone. That is why you are both still standing." Sadiq bowed his head. Tears traced lines down his face, not of pain, but of understanding. Amara never returned to Obinna's life, but she sent word years later that she had found peace. Obinna smiled when he heard it. Love, he had learned, does not always come back, but lessons do. As the sun dipped low, children gathered near the iroko tree, laughing, chasing each other. Obinna called them close and told them a simple story, not of betrayal or prison, but of two boys who made a promise too big for their age. "Some promises," he told them, "are not meant to trap you. They are meant to reveal who you truly are." Sadiq listened from a distance, knowing the story would outlive them both. And so the village carried on, wiser, quieter. The land settled. The ancestors rested. Because promises made in youth do not disappear with time. They wait. And in the end, they always ask to be answered.